listening to the Video Game and Nerd Trivia Podcast with Tony D. Video Game and Nerd Trivia Podcast, your episodic dose of trivia covering all things video games and nerdy. Now, here's your host, Tony D.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Video Game and Nerd Trivia Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be going over 3 rounds of 10 questions each about the Nintendo Entertainment System, or the NES. So how it works is I'll ask you a question, give you 5 seconds of silence, and then tell you the answer. Alright, let's play. Round 1, question 1. What year was the NES first released in North America? That would be 1985. Question 2. Who is the iconic mascot for the NES? That's of course Mario. Question 3. The NES introduced a popular game controller design that's still used today. The buttons on this design are used to control the movement of your characters. What is this design? That would be the directional pad or the D-pad. Question 4. The NES had a light gun accessory for shooting games. What was the name of the accessory? That would be the NES Zapper. Question 5. What's the original Japanese name for the NES? That would be the Famicom, short for Family Computer. Question 6. Which game is often considered the best-selling NES game of all time, featuring a plumber rescuing a princess from a villainous turtle? That would be Super Mario Bros. Question 7. In which game do players control the character named Link in a fantasy world to rescue the Princess Zelda in the first game of the series? This would be The Legend of Zelda. Question 8. What classic NES game had players guiding a knight named Arthur through various stages to save a kidnapped princess, and this game was published by Capcom? This would be Ghosts and Goblins. Question 9. Which NES game featured a group of animals that fought against the Dark Queen? This would be Battletoads. And question 10. The NES had an accessory that allowed you to play multiplayer games. What was the accessory called? Hint, it allowed up to 4 people. This was the NES 4 Score. Alright, let's head into round 2. Round 2, question 1. In the game Duck Hunt, what was the name of the dog that laughed at you when you missed a shot? This is kind of a trick question. Dog actually had no official name. Either that or his name was just Dog. Question 2. What classic NES game had players controlling a spaceship while shooting waves of alien enemies? And this game was the first in the series in which the gameplay is a side-scroller type of game. This game was also developed by Konami. This game was Gradius. Question 3. The NES had a robotic accessory that was basically a robot friend and can also be used to play some games in which the robot was made for. What was this robot called? This is Rob, or Robotic Operating Buddy. Question 4. In the game Metroid, what's the name of the armored bounty hunter you control? That would be Samus. Question 5. What NES game featured a robotic character that had a sister named Roll and a dog named Rush, and fought against various robotic bosses to save the world? That would be Mega Man. Question 6. What was the name of the game that used a MAT controller and allowed players to participate in various sporting events such as running, jogging, long jump, and things like that? There were actually 2 games, so one was stadium events and the other one was track and field. Question 7. What year was the American version of the NES discontinued? This was 1995, on August 14th to be exact. Question 8. What was the North American name for Dragon Quest on the NES? That would be Dragon Warrior. Question 9. Which NES game had players controlling a teenage ninja named Ryu Hayabusa, who fought against a villainous organization known as the Black Spider Clan? This would be Ninja Gaiden. And question 10. In the game Bionic Commando, the main character's name is Nathan Spencer. What was his nickname in the NES version? It was Rad. Alright, let's head into the final round here, round 3. Question 1. What NES game featured a vampire hunter named Simon Belmont on a quest to defeat the evil Count Dracula, just named the first game in this series? That would be Castlevania. Question 2, let's head back to Bionic Commando. We know that Nathan Spencer's name is Rad, but what does Rad stand for? It stands for Research and Development. Question 3, what classic NES game had players battling against various alien creatures in an attempt to stop an alien invasion, and could also be played with 2 players, 1 red, 1 blue, and had power-ups like the spread gun or the machine gun? That would be Contra. Question 4. In the game Kid Icarus, what's the name of the protagonist who had to rescue the goddess Palutena? His name is Pit. Question 5. What NES game had players controlling a spy named Solid Snake and tasked with infiltrating enemy bases to destroy a weapon? That would be Metal Gear. Question 6. What NES game set in a post-apocalyptic world had players controlling a lone warrior named Max Rokitansky as he attempted to recover his stolen vehicle? This is the Road Warrior, also known as Mad Max. Question 7. This game was known as Downtown Neketsu Monogatari in Japan and Street Gangs in Europe. and it's an open world role-playing beat-em-up game following two high school students named Alex and Ryan. What game is this? This is River City Ransom. Question 8. What classic NES game had players controlling a character named Little Mac as he fought his way through a series of boxing matches? That would be Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! Question 9. The Japan version of the NES, the Famicom, introduced a peripheral that allowed for 3D stereoscopic effects. What was this accessory called? This was the Famicom 3D system. And finally, question 10. This game, by Sunsoft, is a platform and run-and-gun game that was a localized version of a Japanese Famicom game that was called Cho Wakushi Senki Metafight. The localized version has a character named Jason who follows his pet frog Fred down a hole in the earth, and he finds a tank and controls it to battle radioactive mutants. What game is this? This is Blaster Master. Alright, that was the end of this episode. All 30 questions. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I had an NES growing up, so it was really fun to write this episode because I kind of had to go dig through my own growing up memory lane and figure out like what games I played as a kid. And also now in my 30s, learning about some of the trivia about during that time, some of the peripherals I kind of forgot about, like Rob. Really fun to write this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please give us a good rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And just email me at vgntpodcast@gmail.com. Suggest some topics, I'll give you a shout out in a future episode. And thank you so much again for listening, and as always, trivia on.